All right, hey, what's up? I'm Toridi. So this is like part three of the food stamp crisis. No, sir. That's what really drew my heart to really want to express my story about this. Anyway, so it was just a lot, right? It was a lot. I was juggling a lot, mind you. No one's giving me any proper information. No one's saying, hey, this is how you can leverage this, or this is how you can leverage that, even with the financial or even with the governmental assistance. No one is saying, hey, if you join this program, we'll help you with putting money down to get a house. No one is saying any of this. So if it did exist, I didn't know. I did find out about a program where if we receive food stamps and if we receive government assistance, that if you wanted to move, that there was this place where you had to prove your income in order. I think they paid up to like $4,000 towards moving costs because cost of living was it was hot. And a lot of people were struggling financially with the whole everyone was charging three times the rent in order to move. So there was a program that was assisting with that in Massachusetts. Anyway, um so just to move forward, um I was so like desperate just to leave that place. I did everything that I could think of to hurry up and boost my score, right? Hurry up and boost my score. Um, and what I also did to boost my score was I was paying off my credit card twice a month. So before I had started learning about credit card usage and all of that other stuff, I was living check to check. I was getting paid every 2 weeks. I was making my money, and then in between making my money, I had to divvy up the money. Like I had rent this month. I think I had a car note at the time, so I had rent this month. I had a car note. I had car insurance. I got kids. I got bills. I got all these stuff, right? Um, and so by the time I got my money, and then by the time I got it, it had already belonged other places. Um, I think after I got paid, I had enough money to hold like maybe $100 or $200 till the next pay period. Right? So what ended up happening was when I started learning about the credit card, my first credit card, I think the limit they gave me was like $200, $300 or something like that. And this is a little tip too, just for y'all to know. So I got approved. So I went through Credit Karma, and I went through Credit Karma. This is how I started learning how to build credit and what the credit bureaus look for and all of this stuff, right? So they ended up showing me some cards that I qualified for with my credit score that I was in, which also gave me access to look at my credit score because I didn't even know there was, like I said, such a thing. So I, so anyway, I was living check to check. And what ended up happening was the credit card had ended up holding me over until the next check. And then what ended up happening was I ended up being able to save money by default. Normally, when I get paid, by the time I get paid, I will be all out of money until it was time to get paid again. But with the $200 credit card, the $200 credit card was in place spending the money that I normally only had to hold until the next time I got paid. And so I noticed, okay, I spent the $200 on the credit card. I still had the $200 that I normally would have. So, okay. I said, okay, let me see how this works. So I maxed the $200 and then the bill I would get would be like $25 a month or something like that. And I think the more you spend, the higher the bill is. But because of the fact that I was already used to living check to check, I said, well, let me just pay the $200 off when I get paid. That way I can still use this card. And I still either got $200 or depending on how much I spend, I could spend $100 and still have $100 left from the $200 I would normally spend, and I would still have $200 to spend on the credit card. Now instead of me spending $200 and having $0, I spent $200 and still got $200. So even if I take 100 out of the 200 that I had and put it on there, I replenished 100 out of the 200 that I spent. So I started being able to save a little bit. I said, okay. So what started happening was, of course, I started leveraging it a little bit differently. So now instead of me maxing out the $200, now I'm trying to spend less. So now instead of spending $200, I'm spending $100. So now I got $200 that I'm saving or that I'm holding, and then I spent $100 on the card. Then when I get paid, I pay off the $100, and then I reuse the $100. So now the $200 that would have been zero ended up being 100, and then when I got paid again, ended up being 200, and I still had the $100 that I was using on the card. That now, as every paycheck go on, I got an extra $100 for the last 5 weeks. So now I got $500 saved up. Now I got $500 saved up, and I've been using this one card that had $200 on it that I've been using between 100 and 200. Now, here's the kicker. After about, I want to say 3, 4 months of paying this card twice a month, they raised my credit to $500. Said, what? That was a short period of time. What I didn't know was that credit bureaus get paid by the interest that they charge you for the money that you borrow. That's why they make you pay $25 a month. Because if you pay $25 a month on a $200 credit, and let's say they give you a year to pay it off, by the time that year is up, you'd have been paid $300 for $200 that you use. But because you're paying the minimum, you're paying more in the end, right? So I ended up paying it off. I kept paying it off. They ended up going up to 500. And like I said, it may have been anywhere between 3 to 5 months. So I said, oh, they went up to 500. Okay, that's even better. So now I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do with myself. But I'm still trying to keep it cute. So now instead of the 100, I'm saving. I'm still saving. I have $500 because for 5 months I was able to save $100 when normally I would have zero. But I still got this card. Now from 200, now I got 500. So I said, okay, now I got 500. Now I managed to keep this method. I still kept doing the 200. I didn't max it up to the 5. I still kept doing what I was already familiar with. Even though I have 500 on the card, I still only kept using the 200 in between checks that I normally would use, whether that be for gas back and forth, whether that be for a bus ride, whether that be whatever it was for that I was already using it for, I kept doing that. Before I knew it, I think I had like maybe $1,000 saved up. And so I was like, oh man, this is working. Now, mind you, even in between all this, my credit going up because there is showing up on my credit report that I'm paying my credit card off twice a month. So my credit going up. I got the authorized user. I was put as an authorized user on my aunt's account, and her credit score was like 800. And so it was just looking real good. It was looking real good. So I just knew. I was like, oh, when it comes to moving, I got this housing. Even with housing, I didn't raise my credit score to 700. I've been doing this little thing back and forth with the credit thing. I've been learning all of this stuff. I've been doing all of this stuff. And I was like, yeah, yeah, they can't tell me no now. I had enough money. Remember, I told y'all the rent was like first, last, and security, and this and this and that. I was doing this so much, I had $3,000 in my pocket without having to go to the program to get the assistance for it. I had the money. Okay? So I'm thinking, they can't tell me no. That's how desperate I was to get out of there that I was picking up whatever information that I could to get this, okay? So I ended up having the money. I think it anywhere between $3,000 to $4,000 to pay for first, last, and security if I needed to. The only thing that I didn't have was the rental income of three times the rent. But I thought because I have housing that that portion would be waived. Just to make a longer story short, I ended up going to all of these different apartment complexes. I filled out my application. I told them that I had the money. I gave them the paperwork that I needed in order to move in. And I was still declined. I was still declined. I had did everything I thought was right to help fix my situation. And I was still declined. And so I was like, well, what do I need? I went to one place and they was like, your credit score has to be 700. Now, mind you, listen, I think that they thought my credit score wasn't going to be that high because most people who have housing isn't working on their credit, don't even know about credit. I didn't know about credit. And if they do credit, listen, I'm just talking about myself. I didn't know about credit. So I think that when I went to some of these places, they do this, they create these policies where if they don't want certain type of people to that they think will fit the criteria, they set the bar that high. And one of the bars was 700 credit score. And so I had hit all the bars. I had the money for the down payment, three times the rent. I had the 700 credit score. Even though I had the housing, I had everything else. And so I went to one place and the lady was like, you need to have three times the rent. I'm in my head, got it. You need to have 700 credit score. I'm thinking in my head, got it. She don't even know I've been working on this, but got it. I ain't even gonna tell her that. I'm gonna just sit up here, let her do her part where she supposed to scan the paperwork and do all that, put it in, let her do it, right? So she goes, oh, you passed everything. She goes, you got the credit score, you got this, you got that. She goes, oh, you passed everything. And then she turns around and was like, okay, well, we'll give you a call. And I think she ended up calling me later and was like, oh, sorry, unfortunately, we went with someone else. What? I experienced that over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And it made me realize that this really ain't about credit score. I thought it was. This really ain't about credit score. This really ain't even about making three times the rent. So now I'm like, okay, is it because I got housing? Is it that people don't want to deal with housing anymore? Now, mind you, I don't even want to be on housing, but I can't save, even though I've been saving, but I was trying to save to get out of where I was at. The only reason why I didn't save more so that I can get my own place was because the current place that I was living at had became infested with roaches, and I was trying to hurry up and get out. I was trying to hurry up and get out, and I could not get out because everyone was against anyone with housing. At least that's what it felt like. So okay, I ended up getting into another relationship during all of this time. This is when I met my third daughter's father. And even then, the distance between my kids' age is far in between. When I met my third daughter's father, which my last two kids, they're by the same guy, but my second oldest was like 7 at the time. Anyway, he had helped me a little bit with some of the information with the Credit Karma and all of that. And he ended up talking to one of his coworkers about the fact that I had been looking for so long and doing all these different techniques and credit building techniques and all this just to move because that's really what I was trying to do. Um he ended up putting the word in, or like I said, speaking to one of his coworkers. And luckily at the time, one of his the guy that he was working with had just bought a house. And he was like, you know what? He was like, because of everything you just told me that your lady's going through, he was like, don't worry about it. Just give me a move in fee and I'll let y'all move in. He like, don't worry about. He like, I'm not gonna do the credit check or nothing like that. He was just like, I'll just let y'all move in. To the point where he was like, I'll even let y'all move in a month early because I think my lease was up or something, and I needed to wait for housing to come by and do an inspection, and then I needed housing to come by and approve it, and all of this other stuff, and all of that stuff takes time. It like because you got to schedule the appointment, then they got to come by, and then it's just a lot. Anyway, so that was a blessing, right? I finally was able to move out of that place, but I spent more time at that place than I actually would like, um, because it was bad. It was so. I really don't want to go into how bad it was. It was so bad that whenever I would cook dinner, I would pull my gas stove as far as I could past the little uh stove cover that goes on it, just in case something might have wanted to drop from the top. Like it was bad. And I'm sorry, that's disgusting. um it was bad, right? And so um I ended up moving out. Um and so even with that, my credit and everything is good. My credit at 700. I mean, I'm still able to save money. I didn't learn this new technique. And then because of the fact that I was doing the same method, saving a few, spending a few, saving a few, spending a few, that 500 ended up going up to like 1200. They I started off at 200. Within 3 to 5 months, I ended up at 500. And then within another 3 to 5 months, they had gave me a 1200 credit limit. So they had increased my credit from 200 from 200 to 1200. So they increased it $1,000 because of how often I was paying on it. And then my credit score was 700, to the point where one day my kid's father, when we were together, he was like, "Hey, I want to go to a car dealership and I want to go look for me a car." Okay. At this point, we both make enough money. Um, he was he was um loading and unloading like food service trucks, but he was also going into carpentry, and we were just making decent money. Mind you, I have housing. I'm making so much amount of money. I'm paying this high rent. My portion of the rent is still $900. Um, but because of the fact that I figured out how to utilize the credit that I had, it afforded me more opportunities. So I ended up going to the car dealership with him. I ended up going to the car dealership with him. And while we were there, he didn't get approved, right? And so the dealer was like, "Well, why are we here?" He was like, "Ma'am," he was like, "Why don't we see if you approve for anything?" He was like, "Are you interested in looking for a car or whatever?" And at first I was like, "Not really." Because I want to say I had a car, or maybe I didn't. I know I had a car prior to that, and I don't know if that was when my car had broke down or if I did a trade in. I think I might have did a trade in with the car that I had. Anyway, it's been kind of so long ago. I don't know the exact details, but anyway, I like I said, didn't know much about credit. I was still learning, and so we went there for him. I ended up driving off with a car. I ended up driving off the lot with a car, y'all. I was like, he was like, your credit score is this, and if you pay this, you can leave out with this, and this will be your monthly payment, and that'll be your this, and you get this, and you get that, and you get. And I said, wait a minute, what? I said, well, I started negotiating. I said, well, what all kind of discounts can I get? He gave me all kind of discounts. Let me tell y'all, that car was, I believe, $23,000. He had took like because it was like a holiday, he took $3,000 off for the holiday. And then he was like, if you give us a like, I'll give you an extra this many amount of dollars off. And if you give us a this, I'll give you an extra this off. I said, oh wow, okay. So anyway, my car payments, I think I put down $500. I rolled off the lot with a car that was the same year that we were in. which I think it was 2018. It was a 2018 car, and the car had only like 23 miles on it. I had worked my credit so much, so good. I drove off the lot with a brand new car for $500. Put down $500. That's it. Drove off with a brand new car. Somehow I felt like I was on a game show. I was like, what? My kid's father at the time, he was so upset. He was like, I went to look for me a car and you drove off the lot with one. But mind you, so this is the benefits of building credit. But mind you, I discovered all of this by accident. Okay? I discovered all of this by accident. So with this being said, it was just a lot going on. So it was a lot. It was a lot going on. Mind you, still trying to get off housing. So I did eventually find out because of the fact that I was working, because of how much I was paying for rent and all of this. After so many years of being on housing, my housing worker said to me, "Okay," she said, "Tori, you've been paying this amount of for your rent pretty consistently." She said, "Why don't you check into this program? It's called FSS. It's called Family Self Sufficiency." She said, "Why don't you look into the Family Self Sufficiency program?" And she said, "What they do is they take what you pay for rent, and then they'll put they'll double it. Like they'll take what you pay for rent and they'll save that in like a bank for you or something until you get a certain amount of money, so that you can either, buy your first property or whatever." But the way the program work is if you have any debt or any credit or anything, you gotta like go through this program where you gotta pay off all your debts first, and then once you pay off all your debts, then you go through the next section of the program or whatever. And so okay, I signed up for it. But before I can even get to the part where they would do the doubling of the rent portion, I had these like little stages I had to go through. I had to show up and I had to go to these little classes. I had to take notes on, credit building and just more information on top of what I already had, right? And so it was cool. But life be lifing. Life be lifing. So I mean I gained insight, more, information that I could utilize. The only thing is I ended up not being able to complete it. Because once you complete it, you're supposed to get some type of certificate, and then once you get the certificate, you get like the other assistance or the other help or whatever it is. And I don't even know. I don't even know how to say what. Well, what ended up happening was um the relationship with my last two daughters went sour, and I ended up having to flee again. And this time, instead of moving to another state, I ended up coming back to Michigan. Now, mind you, everything that I just said to y'all, this is a whole 18-year span that all of this has happened. Me trying to do music, me learning about credit, me trying to get off of this assistance, all of these different challenges that I face, all of this, everything that I've learned, the fact that I had a car, um, even at some point, COVID happened too during all of this. And with COVID happening, I had started going to school for media production. My goal was this. My goal was, since I didn't get to make it as an artist and because of my family size was growing, I decided, you know what, let me go to school for something a little more concrete. So instead of me trying to, make it as a singer or a rapper, because I was rapping too, I decided, let me just go to school for media production. That way I can get a job in the entertainment field. I didn't mind being a camera person. I don't mind being somebody's personal assistant. I didn't mind being whatever. I just wanted to be in the industry. I just wanted to be in the entertainment industry. If I got to work with other artists, I was fine with that. If I got to work with actors, musicians, whatever, I didn't mind. I wanted to work behind the scenes. I felt like I'm getting too old to try to be in the spotlight. I'm getting too old to try to keep doing shows and because of the demand of life, because of the children that I have now, I need to do something that's a little bit more concrete. And so I decided, okay, I'll just work behind the scenes. I learned how to edit. I figured I'll do editing or something, uh, something more as an employee for entertainment versus trying to be an artist, right? So, but COVID happened. COVID happened right at the end of year two, and I was getting ready to enter year three. And then because of this, school had went from being in person to online. And I'm gonna admit right now, I'm a hands-on learner. I learn better in the experience than I do outside. And so my kids were at home as well because of COVID, everyone was home. Um, and because I still needed to make money because I didn't want to report that my income had changed by me not working anymore. So I picked up Uber. I started doing Uber. I was doing Uber during COVID. I was driving around with a mask and I had the little plastic shield. And the good thing about it is because of essential workers, I still made I still made a pretty penny to the point where I didn't need to report my income. I was still able to pay the $900 a month for rent, right? So, anyway, I'm pretty much nearing the end of the story right now. But I say all this because I just wish it was a little bit more simple. And if I could voice my opinion and what I feel like would be a solution to that would be more supportive for families that are on the assistance that actually want to get off is either one, to teach people how to utilize credit so that they can leverage it, so that they can get off the assistance, or have some type of assistance that for people who are working and create some kind of funding account that money can go right into until people reach a certain amount of money and then they can buy their own house. I feel like, for instance, when my income afforded me, I was supposed to pay $900. Even if 100 out of that $900 per month went towards some kind of like housing fund or property fund for me to be able to buy my own house so that I could eventually become a homeowner without continuing to rely on paying rent to others. It would have been more helpful for me to get off, right? At least that's what I feel like. And it probably should be more, but I only said 100 because my whole point is really just pointing out the fact that you make more money and they raise the rent. So where can you actually really save? Where can you actually really save? Especially if there's not really a household for two. I noticed that most of the stuff when it comes to housing and all of this stuff is designed for people, a two-person household. What about people who is single? You're charging one person the same thing that a two-person household can handle. So to take the food steps, that really where all of this came from. Me sharing this with y'all. To take the food stamps away from people who are a single family household. It don't feel right. I don't know what else to say. It just don't feel right. And so I don't know. I just wanted to share that because building credit technically is not counted as income because it's not income because it's borrowing money. It's borrowing money to pay back money, right? It's utilizing um the credit to, I don't know, it's like it's like borrowing money but being able to do it consistently instead of having to keep going and get another loan and getting another loan and getting another loan. You got one card that you got a certain limit. You don't go over that limit. If you go over that limit, you pay it off, and then you use it and you pay it off, and you use it and you pay it off, and you use it and you pay it off. So it's just interesting. I learned a lot. So I don't know if you watched it all the way this far. Um, Either send me a message or I'm gonna put my storefront notes of wisdom in the description, and you can sign up for my newsletter, and that way when I create the book on financial or credit building tips while on government assistance. If you want to sign up for my email newsletter, then I'll definitely keep you posted when everything is up and running. And so that was all I could really muster up as far as sharing my experience with it. But man, it's a process. It ain't as easy. And I really wish it was. I've been on government assistance since I was at least 19, 20. Just turned 40 now. And I'm not proud to say that I've been on it all that time because I literally have been trying to get off. And it hasn't been easy. So I salute you. And until next time.